So I want to have a conversation today about failure. Failure and success comes from, failure comes from just a few errors of judgment every day. And success comes from just a few moments of doing the right thing every day. And it's something that I don't think we recognize, that the difference between reaching a goal and not reaching a goal rests between just a very, very few activities and a very few things. So I want to share with you guys that we're only one belief away from whatever it is that we want. And I also want to share that success leaves clues as well as failure. So what habits, so that we look at like, okay, we're going to time block this, okay, and we're going to time block our personal stuff first. Did you guys catch that? Is my personal stuff's time blocked first? The personal stuff goes in there first before the business stuff. Then the business stuff goes in, because for me, the business is there to serve my personal well-being, not the other way around. My personal well-being is not there to serve my business. So what habits will drive us to success? Lead generate each day, that's every day. Time block, provide massive value to others, ask for referrals consistently, start early, have the right mindset, take planned breaks. So that's the habits of that I believe will drive us to success. What do you guys think is the biggest denominator holding you back in life, if there is something holding you back? So there's always something holding us all back, right? Because none of us are reaching our potential. Will we all agree that none of us are reaching our potential? Okay, so if we can all agree that none of us are reaching our potential, what holds you back? What's the common denominator that we all have that holds all of us back?
Mine would just be time blocking, period.
Time blocking, period. Okay.
I just let other things get in my way, and I'm not focused and disciplined enough to say, I create a schedule that might come up and I'd be like, oh, okay, I'll do that. But then I don't replace that other time that's missing.
And the one thing, who here's read The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan? And the one thing Gary and Jay say, the defining question to success is the following. I encourage for you guys to write this down, because this is the defining question that I use today. What's the one thing that I can do such that by doing it, everything else will become easier or unnecessary? What's the one thing that I can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? That's the defining question that Gary Keller and Jay Papasan ask. The first time that I met Gary, and I had met Jay many times before this, I met Gary in his office. And I go into his office, and I don't even know how the heck we got this appointment, but we got it. And we go in there, and they were writing, Gary and Jay were writing MREA 2 book, which has never come out. And so when we went in there, on Gary's easel was that saying that I just shared with you. And when we got in there, do you know what Gary said to me? He said one word more than that, Barbara. He said, sit. That was it. And I sat. And for the next 2 hours, I sat there and I watched Gary and Jay debate over writing the book. And I watched them brainstorm and put ideas up onto the whiteboard that they had. Didn't even acknowledge me. At the end of those 2 hours, Gary looked back at me and he simply said to me, he said, what did you think the CEO of a 150,000 person company would be doing right now? Playing golf? And that's the question that Gary asked me. So here's a guy that has 150,000 people at the time that he was leading. It's more like 180 now. And he's able to focus his time on one thing. Something I learned from Gary was that every yes that you say is an infinite no, except for one. So every yes that you say means that you're saying no to infinity minus one. And that minus one is what you're saying yes to. And I don't think that we recognize the power of our yeses. Because the power of our yeses means that you're saying no to every other possibility, to infinity minus the one you're saying yes to. And so when somebody asks, do you got a minute? When somebody asks, can I take your time? When there's a more important priority, I put that in quotation marks, that jumps into your awareness, do you have the awareness that I'm saying no to everything else when I say yes? What's the one thing in your business that is not currently being done that if it were to be done would dramatically change the way that you do business? I'll share it with you guys. For me, it's meeting real estate agents, because in both my companies, it all starts with the real estate agent. Because when I meet talented real estate agents, then I'm able to then serve the leads that I find at a higher capacity in my sales business. And when I meet real estate agents, then I'm able to serve them in my coaching business. Who else?
I would say sticking to the schedule that Doug and I have come up with, that would just really change a lot of things in our life, because we just let each other in life, because Doug, like, we're like, we want to do this. Like, we have the daily morning, miracle morning that we've been trying to craft up and, defined for years now. We've gotten pretty good at it, like reading, meditating, prayer, gym in the morning before we actually start, getting to work. And we've just let some things get in the way. So it's not as consistent as we would like it to be.
Can I tell you about my miracle morning?
Sure.
I hold myself accountable for doing 2 of those tasks, and I could do any 2. And when I say 2 of those tasks, I'm talking about all that would go in that box: affirmation, meditation, prayer, exercise, etc. Because when I was intending to do all 7 or however many there are there, it was near impossible for me. And so then I would beat myself up. And if you're doing the 5 right now, keep doing it, right? But I'm sharing this for everybody else, right? Like I give myself permission to say, okay, I'm going to do 2. And then sometimes I'll end up doing more than 2.
Well, I feel the same way, that I feel like I'm trying to cram all this stuff in such a short amount of time. I want to do it all, but I think giving myself a break and saying, hey, if I just do, 2 or 3 every single day, then maybe I'll let myself off the hook and not beat myself up and saying, oh, I didn't do this today, or I didn't do that today. It just doesn't start off your day when you're already beating yourself up for not doing something that you said you were going to do.
Yeah, I think if you look at it and you just merely ask the question, is this benefiting me or not, then maybe you come up with a different solution. Because certainly, I've been there. Beating yourself up at the beginning of the day is not serving you.
No.
Okay. And cramming 7 or 8 things into a journaling and all that into a short period of time, you may not be able to get the best of it. At least that's what I've discovered.
I agree.
What about just simply asking yourself better questions more often? What do you guys think about that?
What would be an example of a better question?
What's the one thing that when I do it, or such that by doing it, everything else becomes either easier or not necessary? If you ask yourself that question more often, you'll find yourself making better choices.